But the course of their growth was not nearly so straightforward as might be suggested by the old saying about pilgrims who fell first on their knees and next on the aborigines. Whites and Indians had to learn to hate each other, had even to learn that there were such clear-cut racial categories as white and Indian, before westward expansion across a steadily advancing frontier could become the trajectory for a nation that was itself a belated result of the same learning process. Perhaps the strangest lesson of all was that in the new nation, whites were the ones entitled to be called Americans. Indians, bizarrely, became something else. It was not always so. Throughout the period before the United States declared its independence, the vast majority of eastern North America was neither English nor French nor Spanish territory. It was clearly Indian country, and Europeans most often used the term American to describe descendants of the original inhabitants. Had I been in St. Louis 1,000 years ago, I would have found myself in the cultural heartland of that eastern Indian country. I would not have been able to rise 19 stories in the air to look across the Mississippi, but I could have climbed to a considerable height on a since-leveled earthwork that was the centerpiece of a ceremonial site, or perhaps even a major town. Had my eyesight been particularly sharp and the day especially clear, I might have just been able to glimpse the far more impressive earthen mounds of what was probably the largest American city that existed north of Mexico before the late 18th century, the site near East St. Louis, known today as Cahokia. In its heyday, it was home to more than 20,000 people. Towering 100 feet above a 50-acre artificial plaza, its main temple mound covered 16 acres at its base and contained 22 million cubic feet of hand-deposited earth. Surrounding the temple and plaza, at least 100 smaller mounds supported ceremonial structures or covered the accumulated burials of generations of the city's elite residents. Cahokia and such other major centers as those now known as Coosa and Etowah in Georgia, Moundville in Alabama, and Natchez in Mississippi were home to highly stratified societies, organized as chiefdoms and characterized by a sharp divide between elites and commoners, a specialized artisanry, widespread trading networks, and elaborate mortuary rituals, to which the burial mounds attest. Surrounding networks of agricultural hamlets provided food to support the urban centers, where priests and chiefs who probably called themselves great sons apparently conducted rituals centered on the solar cycle and the seasons to ensure the success of crops and the power of the community. At Cahokia, for example, a massive wood henge or circle of posts served as an astronomical observatory, and the main plaza was oriented on a perfect north-south line to trace celestial movements. Chiefs displayed their power by dispensing to their followers and to visitors from far and wide ritual objects that symbolized the sun, the cardinal directions, and agricultural productivity. These societies, which scholars now call Mississippian, flourished during the global climatic warming trend from approximately 900 to 1350, known as the medieval optimum. This increase of a few degrees in average annual temperature was the same one that led Norse adventurers to colonize a once and future frozen waste and accurately call it Greenland, while briefly finding the Newfoundland coast a welcoming locale. Throughout eastern North America, well beyond the Mississippian heartland, the warm period fostered a burst of agricultural creativity focused on improving varieties of two old crops, squash and maize, and one new one, beans. As the agricultural revolution gradually spread, for the first time these three sisters, rather than hunting and gathering, became the principal food source for native people throughout the East, with the exception of far northern regions where the growing season was too short. In most societies, farming came to be women's work, and female kin groups controlled the fields, the food they produced, and the houses in which those who ate it lived. Men were responsible for the animal protein side of the diet and, as a result, spent much of their time away from the female-dominated world of the village. Seasonal hunting, fishing, and fowling camps were where most male labor took place. The forest, native people taught, belonged to men, the clearing to women. In the middle of what Europeans reckoned as the 14th